Did you know that right now, thousands of Americans over 65 are leaving thousands of dollars on the table, money the IRS has already set aside specifically for them? If you're 65 or older, there's a confirmed $12,000 benefit that most seniors never even hear about, and today, we're going to change that together. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what this is, whether you qualify, and how to make sure you don't miss out on a single dollar. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and hit that like button right now, subscribe so you never miss updates like this, and drop a comment below telling us your state, because where you live can actually affect how much you receive. Let's dive in. Now, before we get into the details, I want you to take a slow, deep breath and really settle in, because what we're about to cover is genuinely important, and I want to make sure you walk away from this video feeling informed, empowered, and ready to take action. This isn't complicated. In fact, once I break it down for you the way a good neighbor would over a cup of coffee, you're going to wonder why nobody told you about this sooner. Let's start at the very beginning, because context matters here. The IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, is not exactly an organization most of us associate with good news. For decades, many of us have thought of tax season as something to dread, a time of paperwork, confusion, and writing checks we'd rather not write. But here's the thing that surprises a lot of people: buried inside the U.S. tax code are provisions specifically designed to put money back into the pockets of older Americans. These are not loopholes. They are not tricks. They are legitimate, government-confirmed benefits that exist because lawmakers recognized something important, that people who have spent their entire working lives contributing to this country deserve a measure of financial relief in their later years. The $12,000 benefit we're talking about today is rooted in something called the Enhanced Standard Deduction for seniors, combined with additional IRS-confirmed credits and relief programs that stack together in a way that can dramatically reduce what you owe, or significantly increase what you receive back. Now, I know the word deduction can sometimes feel abstract, so let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you've worked hard your whole life, maybe you raised a family, maybe you built a business, maybe you spent 30 years behind a desk or on a factory floor. You've paid your taxes faithfully every single year. Now, in your retirement, the government is essentially saying, we owe you something back. That's the spirit behind these benefits, and they are very real. Here's where it gets interesting. For the 2024 tax year, the IRS increased the standard deduction for individuals aged 65 and older to levels we haven't seen before. A single filer over 65 can now claim a standard deduction of $15,700, and if you're married and both spouses are over 65, that number climbs even higher. But here's what most people miss: when you layer in the credit for the elderly or disabled, additional Social Security income exclusions, and state-level programs that mirror federal benefits, that total combined value can reach and even exceed $12,000 in real, tangible financial relief. That's not a marketing number. That's math, honest, straightforward math that the IRS itself has confirmed through its official publications. Now, let me introduce you to someone I'll call Margaret, not her real name, but her story is very real. Margaret is 71 years old, lives in Ohio, and spent most of her adult life working as a school librarian. She retired at 67 and has been living on a combination of Social Security and a small pension ever since. Last year, her neighbor, a retired accountant, sat down with her at her kitchen table and walked her through exactly what we're discussing today. By the time they were done, Margaret realized she had been overpaying on her taxes and underclaiming her benefits for 4 straight years. She filed an amended return, claimed the credits she was owed, and received a check from the IRS for just over $3,800. She told her neighbor it felt like finding money she didn't know she'd lost. And that's exactly what this is for so many seniors: it's money that was always yours, just waiting to be claimed. So who qualifies for these benefits? This is the question I know is on your mind right now, and I want to answer it clearly. In general, if you are 65 years of age or older and you file a federal tax return, even if your income is modest, you may be eligible for the Enhanced Standard Deduction automatically. The credit for the elderly or disabled applies to individuals who are 65 or older, or who are under 65 but retired on permanent disability. There are income thresholds to be aware of. Your adjusted gross income must fall below certain limits for the full credit to apply, but even partial credits can add up to meaningful savings. If your income comes primarily from Social Security, a pension, or modest retirement savings, there's a very strong chance you qualify for more than you're currently claiming. One of the biggest reasons seniors miss out on these benefits is surprisingly simple: they assume someone would have told them. They trust that their tax preparer, their financial advisor, or even a family member would have flagged this automatically. But the truth is, not everyone who prepares taxes is equally versed in senior-specific provisions, and the IRS certainly doesn't knock on your door to remind you. This is why videos like this one exist, and why I'm so passionate about making sure this information reaches the people who need it most. You deserve to know what you're entitled to. Let's also talk about something that often gets overlooked: the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, or VITA, and the Tax Counseling for the Elderly Program, known as TCE. These are free IRS-sponsored programs staffed by trained volunteers who specialize specifically in helping seniors navigate their taxes. They understand the enhanced standard deduction. They know the credit for the elderly. They are familiar with state-level overlaps and how to maximize your return legally and accurately. And the best part? Their services cost you absolutely nothing. You can find a VITA or TCE location near you by visiting the IRS website or simply calling 211, which is the National Social Services helpline available in most states. I want you to write that down or mention it to a family member: 211. Now, there's another layer to this that I find truly fascinating, and I think you will too. The history of these tax provisions actually dates back to the mid-20th century, when Congress first began recognizing that older Americans faced unique financial pressures that younger households did not. Back in the days when many of your parents or grandparents were reaching retirement age, Social Security was still a relatively new program, pensions weren't guaranteed, and medical costs were beginning to rise sharply. Lawmakers at the time made a deliberate decision to build protections into the tax code, protections that have been expanded and updated over the decades to reflect the realities of modern retirement. When you claim these benefits, you are not taking advantage of a system. You are using a system that was specifically designed with you in mind. I also want to gently address something that comes up a lot in the comments on videos like this one, and that's the fear of doing something wrong. Some seniors worry that claiming additional credits or deductions might trigger an audit or draw unwanted attention from the IRS. I completely understand that concern, and I want to reassure you, claiming benefits you are legally entitled to is not a red flag. The IRS does not penalize people for using the provisions that Congress has written into law. In fact, failing to claim credits you qualify for is far more common than overclaiming, and it costs American seniors billions of dollars every single year. The system works best when you use it the way it was intended. As we move toward wrapping up this part of our conversation, I want you to sit with one simple thought: knowledge is the most powerful financial tool you have. You don't need to be an accountant. You don't need to understand every line of the tax code. You just need to know that these benefits exist, that you likely qualify, and that there are free resources available to help you claim every dollar you're owed. We've covered the enhanced standard deduction, the credit for the elderly or disabled, the VITA and TCE programs, and the real-life impact this can have, and we're just getting started. In the closing portion of this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact steps you should take this week to make sure you're not leaving a single dollar behind.